Hey everybody, today I want to walk you through exactly how to do your first assignment on your 3D printing. So the first thing you're going to do is turn in your written assignment. Let's go look at the assignment. I'm going to go to your Google Classroom. Your view is going to be a little different than mine because I have more classrooms than you do. But I'm just going to go into Waterhouse Science. Yours, it depends on your homeroom you're in, but it's your science with my picture. You're going to click on classwork, and you're going to look at right here your 3D printing assignment. When you click on it, you'll see the instructions for this assignment. So in this assignment, it says to use the grid paper to draw and compass rows that you could create using basic shapes on TinkerCAD. So you're going to do that, and that is the very first part of your assignment. It is for a grade, and you turn that in before you do anything else on this assignment. Once I have graded your paper, I will make a copy of it and give it back to you. So you will have a copy of your original to work on in TinkerCAD to try to design. And ideas for where to find compass rows to draw on your graph papers right here. So you can click on this. There are also 2 videos about how to draw a compass rose. So that will give you a really good idea of how to use a ruler, how to draw perfect circles. We can find objects in the room like the bottoms of our cups that are in our caddies or something that's a perfect circle, to draw the circle designs. So when you're in here, let me get rid of this. You would be looking and thinking, what could I do? Let's see. Let me just look at the designs and see what is striking me as something I might be able to create. Just looking down through here at the designs. Here's some 3D ones somebody has done. Looks pretty neat. Kind of like that one. Kind of like that idea. I like this idea. So maybe I'm going to create something similar to that. This one's really cool. It's just stars and stars and stars, smaller and smaller, that you put together. So maybe I like this idea. Okay. So I'm going to kind of control scroll and zoom in a little right there. I want to see this design up close. And that's the one I'm going to keep in mind. So I really like this idea. I know in the instructions it says that this project has to be 65 by 65 and it needs to be 1 millimeter thick. 1 millimeter thick. No more than 1 millimeter. Definitely no more than 3 millimeters to get a good grade, gradable and printable. So I'm looking at this idea and I'm thinking there's a circle and then there's a triangle and a triangle, and a triangle, triangle, and then I can make that shape and shrink it, and maybe that shape and shrink it, and that shape and shrink it. And I could stack those on top of each other. I might even be able to do them where this is solid, and maybe that one's a hole, and then the center is solid again. I'm not sure. But let me keep that in mind. So I'm going to go over here to a new tab, and I'm going to go to TinkerCAD. You might have TinkerCAD on your address bar up here like I do, or you may have it down here pinned to your shelf. You're just going to go to TinkerCAD. Takes it a minute to load. And mine is still up. I'm going to log out so I can show you the view from logging in, because I was just in my TinkerCAD. Going to go back to my... And I did not log out when I left. So I'm going to click log out. So this is what you would see if you looked at it from loading it from your address bar. We're going to click sign in. All of your information should have been saved the last time you got into TinkerCAD. If it isn't, you may have to type it in and tell it to save it this time, but it should be saved. If it's not, like I said, you may have to type it in and press enter to go into TinkerCAD. My view is going to be a little different than yours because I'm the teacher and I have a lot of files in my dashboard. That's where you're at. You're in your dashboard. You're not going to have any files there unless you created something the last time you were here. But I have files that I've been working on in different compass roses. So I'm going to click New Design, and that's what you're going to do. Click New Design. Your workspace is going to come up. And you're going to change your file name. It'll give you a file name, but you're going to change it to your first name and compass rose. And I'm going to go back over here and look right quick. So I need to start with a circle. Okay, a circle and then some triangles. So I'm going to go back to TinkerCAD. I'm going to drag over a cylinder. I want to zoom in on this cylinder. I click this to zoom in. I notice this cylinder is not perfectly round. I'm looking at it from the top, and I want it perfectly round, so I'm going to do sides, and I'm going to drag it and make it bigger. I'm going to give it all the sides I can, which are 64, which makes it a circle. Okay, this circle needs to be 1 millimeter high. You can drag it. You click that box under the arrow, the top box, or I can just type 1.0 into the little space where it has the measurement for how high, and it gives you the little bracket showing you this is height. I'm not really worried about how big it is right now. That's something I can change later. But just know that anytime you want to change how big something is, that you must hit the corner when it turns red. See how it turned red? Click your mouse on it and click the Shift key on your keyboard. It will shrink it in every direction. Make it the same size in every direction. If you don't and you click it, it'll be wacky and you'll ruin your circle. You won't have a perfect circle anymore. So I'm going to go back, make sure I still have a perfect circle. If you're doing a circle, you can also click the corner and make it 25 here and 25 here, which would make it a perfect circle again. These numbers have to match. Otherwise, you've got an oval, and that's not going to work for a compass rose. So if I go back over here and look, I've got this shape. Now I need this other shape. So I'm looking for a shape that'll work. I think this triangle might work, but as you can see, it is too wide. I need it really thin. As a matter of fact, I need it 1.00 thin. And I also need to lay it on its side because it's standing up. I don't need it standing up, so I'm going to go to this view. Make sure my arrow is not in the way. Get this little tilt tool right here away from you. If you have it right over your arrow, it is really hard to select it and not select the arrow, or select the arrow, not select it. There's two features to this tool. If you click it, you can move in increments of 15, I think, or 5. If you're on the inside of the circle, if you go to the outside of the circle, you can move in increments of 1 degree at a time, which is kind of cool if you're wanting to tilt something just a little. But I'm just wanting to go 90 degrees. If I can't find 90, I can type 90 in the box. So now I'm at 90 degrees, but you can see it's not on the work plane. So I'm going to zoom in on it so I can see it a little better. I'm going to use the arrow key. It has to turn red before you can use it. And I'm going to go down to 0. I have a hard time being at 0, which is right there, but I can also type 0.00 and make sure it's sitting on 0. All right, so I want to drag it over here. I don't really like the shape of it. I'm going to change the shape of it a little. Make the shape of it a little different. Okay, I don't know if that's exactly the same shape, but it's very similar to the one that's in mine. So I want to duplicate this so I can have one on each side. So I clicked on it, and I'm going to click Control D. And as you see, it made a copy of it. I just moved the copy out. But I want to flip that copy. So I use the flip tool. And I want to flip it this way. And so now if I zoom in and from the top view, I can use my arrow keys on my mouse pad, and then I can turn it and use my left and right key to make them one shape. I just want them touching. I want to zoom in to make sure they're touching. There's no space between them. And look, one way you can tell, there's a little line right here. That's where this one goes inside that one. You can also make one a hole, and you can see it actually goes inside the other one. It actually goes inside of it just a tad. Because if you just put it beside it, it might break off after you get it out of your printer. You want it to actually be a part of it. Okay, so I got the shape. I really like this shape. I'm going to make just these two, not the circle, a group. So I highlighted them, and I'm going to click Control G or group. I really, really like this. I'm going to make it taller. I'm going to put my circle over here on it. I'm going to scroll out so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to highlight both of these. I'm going to use my align tool. I'm going to align it left and right and up and down. Now I know it's centered on my tool. So I really like it. I think it looks a lot like this one. And I know it's centered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move my circle out of the way. I'm going to make another one of these. So I'm going to hit Control D, which is duplicate. Except this time I'm going to take it and I'm going to turn this one 90 degrees. 90 degrees. That says 92. I want it to say 90. And I think that looks really good. We'll move my circle back over. Well, before I put my circle back over, I'm going to group these two. I'm going to group these two. I'm going to put my circle back over it. I'm going to draw a box around it and use my align tool. I'm going to center it up and down, left and right. And then I'm going to make it all a part of itself. Let me look at this design. Oh, it has another star. Before I make it part of it, I think I'm going to move it out. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to move this star off to the side. And then I can move this back and go back to center it again. Same thing again. I forgot it had all those other shapes in it. Center and center. And then I'm going to click off of it, draw a box around it, and Control G or group it. Now I'm going to shrink this one because the star that's in it is 45 degrees off, but it's smaller. If you look, it's smaller. So this one right here is smaller. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to grab the corner, and I'm going to shift. I'm just going to make this design smaller. But I want to align it again because it doesn't look centered. So I'm going to go over here and align just that one that I just made smaller and make it there. If I want to make it show up more, I want to make sure that it is 1.00 thick. And I could even make it 1.5 so that it actually is raised a little. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to drag that star off. And then I'm going to group these because they're all aligned. I don't want this as part of it. I'm keeping it off to the side. So I'm going to Control G. All of that is grouped. I'm going to make this smaller. Hit Shift. Make it smaller. Hit Control, click off of it. Click back on it. Hit Control D. Drag it off of itself. and make this one even smaller. Hit shift, or I can type in the numbers if I know how small I want it. I'm just guessing at this. I could have measured each one. So now I'm going to bring this back over here. Where is it? It's up underneath, but I want to bring it to the top. I still have it selected, so I'm going to click the arrow key, not the rotate key. I got to turn till I'm where I can just pick the arrow without picking. See how the arrow turned red? So now I'm going to pull it to the top. I still want it to be part of that. I don't want it right on top of that. I want it counter to that. So let's go out. I'm going to turn it 45 degrees. And then I'm going to put this other little one. I'm going to group this first. Sorry. Control G. Group it. And I'm going to put the other little one on here. And I think I'm going to make that little one a hole all the way through it, just for fun. So I want to make it really tall. I'm also going to center it. Now everything's centered. I'm going to make this one a hole. Not the whole thing. Let's go undo. I just want this center. I'm going to ungroup because it got grouped somehow. I just want this centerpiece to be a hole. And this one to be a hole. It ungrouped everything. Don't know how that's going to look, but we're going to give it a go. Now I'm going to select all and group. And now that looks pretty cool. See how thick it is in the thickest part? It can't be more than 1.5 at the thickest part. So 1.5, the thickest part. Now I need some northeast, southwest. So I'm going to go over here to basic shapes, click on it, and go where it says text and numbers. I need east. Scroll down, I need north. Scroll down, I need south. And I need west. I'm going to turn my workspace around. I'm going to shrink these letters down smaller. Remember to hit shift when you're shrinking letters. I think these are going to be 5.53. So I'll try to make all of them the same size. 5.53. Just click on this one. 5.53. Click on this one. 5.53. Okay, now I'm going to put them in place. I don't really want to zoom in on that. Sorry. I'm going to sort of place them and then I'll zoom in. Make sure you got them on the right places. You do have them on north and south and east and west. I'm going to zoom in on north. Make sure I've got it placed like I want it. And I think I'm going to slide it down a little bit just because I'm going to put my circle up here that's going to hang it. That'll be the last thing I do. I'm going to kind of center it. Oh, that's jumping really big. I want it to go smaller at a time. Move smaller increments. So I'm going to click this little tool and tell it to move 1 millimeter. And now I can actually make it centered. I'm going to leave this point there because I'm going to put a hanger there. Now I'm going to go zoom out. I'm going to click on the E and do the same thing to it. Go over here to the zoom tool. And that little E, I'm going to move it. And I don't want any of that showing. And I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to do the S, zoom in. Use my little arrow keys on my keyboard That's probably about center. I'm going to zoom out. Do the same thing with W. Now I'm going to look and see if I think it's centered. Don't really look centered. I need to move it this way. Now it looks good. And now I'm going to zoom out and really look at it. I think it looks great. So I'm going to Control A, which is select all, or I can just draw a box around it and Control G or group. And it's going to group everything. And now I need a hanger. There's a couple things you can do for a hanger. There's actually 3. You could use a 0. You could come back over here to your basic shapes. And you could use the torus, or you could use the tube. Get rid of that. Get it out of my way. So there's different things you could use for your hanger. If you use this, you're going to want to shrink it. Remember, Control Shift. In every direction, you got to hit Shift. And remember, you don't want it to be that thick. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this and bring it down to like 1.5 thick. You don't want it that thick. You want it to be able to show that you want your letters to show. And I don't think that I made my letters the right height. So let's go back and ungroup this. And you can ungroup from anywhere. So let's tell it to ungroup, even with this on it. So I can click on this and zoom in on it again. Click here and make it 1.5. So no more than 1.5. And my next letter, N. Click here and make it 1.5. Click here and make it 1.5. Click here. On the S, I got to get in the right angle. I can't tell which square is the right one. It's this one. And make it 1.5. So now I've got all my heights right. I can move this out. And I can go back and I can regroup this. I just want to move these out of the way so I don't get any of them in my grouping when I group this. Okay, so Control G, or you can click the group. And you see the N. The N did not get part of that, so I want to click off of it, highlight the N, back into it, and group again. Okay, now all of this, you can tell by it all turned the same color. It is all grouped. So now we're going to go back and we're going to put some kind of hanger on it. That's one of the requirements. It has to have a hanger. I want this hanger secure. I'm not going to just put it touching. Let me zoom in and I'll show you. That would break off when we print it. We want it very secure and down in the end and into the end. You don't want it so far that that sticks up and shows, but you want it where it's in there. Now this one's beveled, and if you don't like this beveled look, then you can just get rid of that one and try one of the other ones. This is actually an O. I'd make this 1.0, so your N will show. And you could go to the top view. Look up here on your, this takes you top, left, right, and make sure that it's centered. You want it, eyeball it so that it's centered. You want to do that and then move it back out. Make sure none of the point is showing, but that it is secure. The N will still show. Or if you don't like that one, we can use the cylinder. Or I think it's called a tube. This tube can be different thicknesses. It can be different sizes. You would definitely want it smaller. So control and either type in your numbers into each one of these right here and right here, or just click it and click Shift and make it smaller. Maybe, close to 10. Pull it back over here. You're going to want it thicker. The thickness needs to be at least 1.00. You don't want to get it too thick though, because your N won't show. And one thing about this one, it's very thin. So your point's going to be sticking. You may like that feature. You may like that a lot, the way that looks. And I think it's kind of cool that it's pointing in there. That's fine with me. And then I'm going to scroll out and give my whole thing one last look. Make sure everything's sitting on 0. Nothing is below the bed. You can see everything's sitting on 0. Nothing's above the bed. If we click on it, you can see it's sitting on 0, 0.00. So everything's sitting flat. You can see there's nothing under here, sticking under there. You would be able to see it. So I think it's really good. I like it. I'm ready to submit it for my final grade to my teacher. I'm going to group everything. I like the way it turned out. I like the different levels. I did not go over the requirements. I've got to check and see how big it is before I submit it. And I'm going to check here and make sure this is 65 by 65. Now, because of the ring, it's going to be off a little bit and not be exactly square. You could do that, or you could leave it like that and make it long, 65, and let me go back and click on the corner, and you could hold the shift key down and then make this one 65, and then that one will be proportionate, whatever it should be, and it's less, it's like 56, 96 or something. So now it's ready. I've looked at it. It's 65. I've looked at it. It's no higher. It's 1.75. I could even make that a little smaller if I wanted to. Make it 1.5 just to make sure that everything is right. Nothing should be smaller than 1 millimeter. I think it's all printable. I think it looks good. Everything's joined tightly, meshed with each other. Nothing's sitting beside each other. So I'm ready to turn it in. So I go up here to export. Make sure you saved it before you do. Make sure it's all saved and grouped. It's all grouped. You're going to go to export. You're going to go to STL. And you will see whatever you named it, it put it, right here's the name of it, .stl, and it goes in my downloads. Then you would go over, make sure you go to your downloads. Go to File. You're going to take it from your downloads and drag it over to your 3D printing folder. I got 2 of them. But you're going to drag it over there. Because I did one earlier. I'm going to delete that one because that's not the one, the last one I did. The last one I did is the top one. So it's asking me if I want to delete it. I do. So I'm just dragging it over and putting a copy of it over here in 3D printing. So now it's in my 3D printing folder. There it is. I've got 3 copies of it. I don't need 3 copies of it. So I'm going to delete and delete. Ever how many times you drag it in there is how many times it will make a copy. I want to make sure I got the right one. So I'm going to delete it and go back. Let me go back to my drive, I'm going to go back. I have a lot of files and folders. So I'm going to go back to the bottom and go to downloads. I'm going to go back to the top, to my 3D printing folder. How did I get my 3D printing folder open? I clicked right here, this little bird beak, and it opens up all your folders. And you'll open up your 5th grade folder, and then this folder will be in there, and you'll drag it in there. And when I get ready to go to my Google Classroom to turn in my assignment, my view won't have it because I'm the teacher and I made the assignment, but yours will have a place to turn in your assignment. You'll click on Google Drive, and the last thing you just looked at is that file. You'll click Add, and then you'll click Submit, and it'll turn your assignment in. And then I can take your assignment, open it up in TinkerCAD, look at it, or open it up in Cura and see if it's printable. And if it is, and if it's the right size and the right thickness, I'll be printing your assignment and giving you a grade. And that's just one example of how to do a compass rose. That's a very simple one. Let's look back at my picture and see if we're even close. you could have pulled your screen out like I did. Let's see if we can get this over here. And this over here, I was just wanting to get a double view. It's not far away from the design. I added a little bit. I could have done another piece in here and just left a hole there. Maybe done one more small one, really, really small one, and let it be solid across the section, and that would have been fun. I went ahead and added, that's one of the requirements, it has to have cardinal directions. It does not have to have intermediate directions. It can have those points, but it has to have more than 4 points. And if you'll use your symmetry tool, create one, duplicate, flip, so, group them together, rotate them, then it'll be really easy to do. But I hope that you've enjoyed watching me create a compass rose for this assignment, just to give you an idea of how to do it. And when you're finished with this assignment, you can go back to your TinkerCAD waffle, which takes you back to your dashboard. And you will see it's going right here. See, when this little thing's going around, that means it's going. And you will see it is part of my files now. Here it is. And so if I want to go back and work on it again, or, you know, if I want, you know, to save it, it's saved in real time. So I don't have to. Here was another one I did earlier today. Just give you an idea what it looks like. It wasn't, I just picked a design off of that page. And then I did it where I took out a piece. So I did circles and then more circles that made holes, and then shrink it, more circles, until I had a circle inside a circle inside a circle. And so that was just one idea. I think that's pretty cool. I like this one. It needed a hanger. I did not put a hanger on it. So what you definitely want to do is come over here and put a hanger on it to finish it off. And you definitely don't want your hanger to overtake your end, but you don't want to get it too thin. So you want to make sure that this design is thick enough to support it. Make the whole thing a little thicker. Oh, I didn't have it grouped. Let's go back. And I didn't have them all the same size. Look how the W is bigger. So, you know, this one still needs a little work. I would still need to make it, you know, and make sure it had a hanger. I wouldn't want to turn it in unfinished like this. And if the E is exactly the same height as the rest of it, it's not going to show up. So you're definitely going to want your E just a tad higher. You know, maybe 0.5 millimeter, like 0.5 higher, or 0.25 at least, just so it has a little ridge and it stands out above the rest of it. So good luck with this assignment. I hope you have fun. And I think it's something that you'll enjoy. And just let me know if you have any questions.